Hey everyone, today we're making mac and cheese, homemade mac and cheese, not Kraft out of the box, although my kids think that's the best thing since sliced bread. So I've got some water on to boil right here. It's starting to bubble up a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit of salt, not too much, to the water. And I'm using the corkscrews. You can use elbow, you can use whatever, it doesn't matter. So this is gonna be a little noisy. So just gonna add that whole box. And I'm gonna put the lid back on so I don't have to worry with that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do next, first let me tell you, this recipe that I found calls for 6 cups of white cheddar or sharp cheddar cheese. You can use whatever you want. I've got, and I shredded this, I don't even know how much it is exactly, but this is the mild cheddar. I'm gonna add a little kick with smoked Swiss, and this is Havarti. I don't know if I've pronounced that right, but it's a softer cheese and it melts really well, so that's why I have a mixture. And you're going to need a half a cup of flour and a little bit of salt and pepper to taste, 4 cups of milk, and breadcrumbs. You can, as a topping, you can use the panko, whatever you want. This is just what I chose to get. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a stick of butter, and I'm going to turn my heat on to about medium high to start with and get my pot going here. And we're going to melt this stick of butter, and then once it's melted we're going to stir in the flour, and it's almost like a gravy, but and you know, it would help if you turned on the right burner. Just note that. I'm going to cover this up for just a minute, just till it gets warm. But when you add your flour, you're going to use a whisk and whisk it because you don't want it to burn. So I'm going to pause right here until I get the butter melted, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I've got the butter melted. So I've got my half a cup of flour I'm going to put in here. And you're just going to whisk it for a couple minutes. You just want to get it blended in. You don't want it to be clumpy. And make sure you get in the corners because it will settle in the corners. Okay, so it's nice and smooth. Now you want to add a little bit of salt, maybe a teaspoon or so, and a little bit of pepper. And this is to taste, so whatever you prefer. Now you want to add your milk, and it's 4 cups of milk. This is a 2 cup. So I gotta do 2 sections here. You just want to whisk this in. And you don't want it to burn, and you don't want it to get all clumpy. You want it to be smooth. So you just whisk it for a few minutes, get it heated. And the butter that I use is unsalted butter. If you use unsalted butter, then you can control your salt more. If I didn't use the unsalted, and I used the salted butter, then I wouldn't have added any salt to the flour mixture here. You just want to make sure you watch how much salt you take in. I also want to show you, I'm going to put this in the crock pot, and this is a casserole crock pot. I've went ahead and sprayed it with Pam so it doesn't stick. I don't have it turned on yet because I don't need it on right this minute. So just wanted you to know how I'm going to do it. You would use it a 9x13 pan, but my thing lifts out, so I can throw in the oven to brown the breadcrumbs if I want to, or I can toast the breadcrumbs in a skillet on the stove, whatever you choose. And you don't even have to put breadcrumbs if you don't want. So we're just getting this incorporated and not letting it burn, and just heating it up pretty good. It's still not that warm. So I've got my pasta going over here, and I'm going to pause momentarily just so there's no dead space, no dead air going. We'll come back in just a minute. Okay, so my pasta's trying to boil over. If you want to look and see how thick this is, almost like a gravy, and it's boiling a little bit, so this is done. We're gonna take this off the heat. Get my colander out, which I should have had out already. I'm gonna drain the pasta, and then we're gonna add everything together. Okay, so here's my pasta, and it's what they call al dente. It's not soggy. You can use the directions on the box. I just know how to determine how it, but it's a little firm still, but it's not soggy. You don't want soggy pasta. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is make sure this isn't too hot. Okay, pour this mixture over the pasta. Okay, I've got the mixture poured in there. Now I'm going to add all my cheese. And you can add a little bit of garlic powder if you like, to give it a little extra kick. I've used a different recipe that required garlic powder, and it used Velveeta cheese also. Okay, so now I'm just gonna mix this all together, get it incorporated really good. And you see all that ooey gooey cheesy deliciousness. Okay. So now it's time to add it to our crock pot. Just spread it out. I'm going to keep this on warm because it's already cooked, and I'm just going to cover it up for the time being. And what I'll do next is toast my breadcrumbs because I don't feel like cranking up my oven today. So I'll just grab a skillet and a couple tablespoons of butter, and I'll toast the breadcrumbs. Be right back with that. Okay, so I've got my 2 tablespoons of butter melted here. I'm going to add about ½ a cup of breadcrumbs, and we're just going to toast them. So just till they get like a golden brown, and it'll take a few minutes for that. Okay, so I've got the breadcrumbs toasted, and you can see they're starting to get a golden brown. Oh, if you could just smell how good these smell. You don't want to go too long because you don't want them to burn. So I think I'm going to stop right here and take these off the heat, and I'm just going to sprinkle these along here. That's it. And I'm gonna let this stay in the crock pot for a while. It's almost 11 o'clock a.m. and we're gonna have like a late lunch, early supper type get together, fish fry later. So this is going with me. So I'm just gonna keep this on warm until we get ready to go about 1 o'clock, and it should be ready by the time we're ready to eat. If you want to add more cheddar cheese to make it more yellow, you can even add Velveeta to give it that yellow look in case you have to trick your kids. But they still will know if it's not Kraft. But you know, this is a great recipe. I like it better than the regular because I know what's going in it. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.